Hey, Stu.
Hey, Tom.
This is Stu Smith's Fitness Report, podcast number 5. And this morning, it's 0 dark 30 here in Arizona. We're going to warm up with warming up. That's the topic of the podcast today, Stu. You wrote an article not long ago on military.com, how to warm up prior to exercise for those that want to do a quick search to find it. And, you and I actually were just talking minutes ago about the whole issue of warming up and the history of warming up and why you do warming up and why it matters and why it's different for different people and different age groups and what you're training for. And it takes me back to my favorite irregular warfare operator. Do you know this? Do you know this saying, Stu? I'm your Huckleberry.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Holliday, I think the original swim buddy. He was really dedicated, but he was a little bit undisciplined. But so let's start with the old school warming up, Stu. So when I was taught, you started with jumping jacks, then you went to usually it was up, back, and overs, and then it's the real old school exercises.
Yeah,
high
press flings,
press,
high chills.
Yep, twisters.
Do those at buds.
Yep,
Yeah.
twisters. The
Cherry
trunk
pickers.
right, and then you started out doing what you were doing. You finished out with jumping jacks, and then you started out doing what you were doing. So, Stu, if I look today at Tactical Fitness, for example, your newest book, you have a very specific thought process about warming up, and it doesn't involve doing that kind of thing in that order. So spend a second and talk through for us your current thinking on, first of all, what you're trying to achieve when you warm up.
Well, I think the first goal of warming up is exactly that, warming up, right? You need to warm up your body, get your body temperature up a little higher. And that is done best with some form of movement. Some people warm up with going for a 5-minute run, then stretching, or they get on the bike for 5 to 10 minutes and then stretch. I've always thought that stretching right from the start is never a great idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're older and less flexible, right? I think the older we get and the less flexible we are, the more we have to warm up before we really go do a workout, right? Now, if you're young, super flexible, got great mobility,
yeah, right.
I think your warm-ups can be a lot less critical, but you still want to at least get moving the muscles you're going to work out that day. So if it's an upper body workout, your jumping jacks, your press flings, all those push-ups. I tell you one thing that I've been doing lately, and like I said, I am the aging tactical athlete, as we do this. People hate them, and I hate them too, but the burpee. A burpee pyramid for me has been a really good warm-up, whereas I wake up, my back's stiff from sleeping in bed. I'm a little sore from the day before workout. Might have been a leg day, right? And so everything's kind of tight. And then I get to where I'm working out, and it's still before 6 a.m. So, I'm cold, right? My body is cold. So I have to start doing something. So I will start off with running across, not fast, just a nice, easy jog across a basketball court, and I do 1 burpee. And then I run back to the other side, and I do 2 burpees. And I go back 3, 4, 5. And I just go up to 10, right? Because anything after 10, it quits becoming a warm-up, and it's more of a workout now, right?
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that little pyramid. Like I said, the great thing about a pyramid, it has a warm-up, a max out, and a cool down all built into it. Mm-hmm. I think that's why I love the pyramid so much. So you do half a pyramid going up, that's a really good warm-up. And depending on what you're working that day, if I'm working legs, I'll do a squat pyramid. Same way, right? But the burpee, nothing hurts after I'm finished doing a 1 to 10 burpee. Now, it's really basically, if you think about it, all it is a dynamic warm-up, right?
Yeah.
And dynamic stretching is basically stretching muscle groups by moving the opposing muscle group. So if I'm doing, put it this way, like remember the old school press fling?
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're stretching your chest muscles by flexing your upper back muscles.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, right. So same thing for like leg swings, right? You're stretching your hamstring by flexing your hip and thigh to move that up, move your leg up into a kick position, or back the other way. You're going to stretch the front side of your leg by flexing the back side of your leg. So that's really what dynamic stretching is. The static stretching, just cold stretching, like starting. I never recommend people to start off their workout static stretching to where they're just doing a toe touch, some kind of back bend, go right into an arm stretch or shoulder stretch. You can do that, like I said, if you're pretty flexible and mobile already. But if you're aging, you're got some aches and pains in there from a life well lived, and you probably need to get the blood flowing a little bit more, get those muscles more pliable, those tendons more pliable, and then stretch.
So one of the things, Stu, that you've recommended to me is 5 minutes of cardio to start out before I do stuff. And that has worked really well for me because it raises my body temperature. It's not a lot of time, but by the time I'm done, I am warm, my whole body's warm up, and then I can do the other things. Then I can do a set of burpees or whatever. But boy, for me to be able to just start with going one side of a basketball court doing a burpee at my advanced age, that's a big deal to ask of my body before it's warmed up.
Yeah, like I said, all these things, you have to find out what works for you. And like I said, the young 20-year-old guy probably doesn't need a 5-minute warm-up. He can just go go for a run. However, I have found even when I was that age that if I was going running, first thing in the morning, right out of bed, I would start running, right? But I would run slow, nice and easy, get the blood flow going, and then maybe stop at a bench and just do all my leg stretches, stretch my calves, stretch my hams, thighs, hips, little upper body, just get my shoulders loose, and, take 3 minutes, to do that. And then you're off to the races, right? So, I think it just depends on what you're doing that day, how you're feeling. So there's some days where I have a workout planned and I am just so sore or tired from the day before's workout, or maybe I didn't sleep well, that I'll just turn the whole workout into a mobility workout and do nothing but stretching and foam roller. And then I'll go to the pool and tread water with just my hands out of the water. So I'm working my hips and legs, all different, varieties of kicks. And then I'll go do all the regular dynamic stretches that we do with, like in the, the tactical fitness or tactical strength books, with butt kickers and leg swings and side steps and, all those, that you do before a workout. I do them in chest deep water. And that has made a huge difference, especially, whenever we start our running cycles, or post leg day, when my legs are just screaming, that makes a huge difference in breaking up any soreness, as well as just helping with mobility and just pure pain. I mean, I know when I'm overdoing it with running, my hips start hurting and I lose all mobility in my hips.
Yeah.
Right. But I can keep that mobility and never get to that point if I'm in the water stretching and loosening up my hips the way you would a dynamic stretch day. But sometimes you have to say, you know what, today's my mobility day off. It might be a Thursday after 3 hard straight days of working out, and just, you got to be smart and listen to your body.
Yeah. And the reason is, Stu, and we keep coming back to this. The reason is because if you push on and hurt yourself, you then put yourself back a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in your training. So being smart and stopping for a day, not doing nothing, but doing a smart mobility workout, hopefully will bridge that gap so you don't move into that training dumb instead of training smart.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, your mobility workouts can be quite tiring. I don't know if you ever took a yoga class, but my heart rate increases.
Do I look like a yoga guy? I mean,
maybe not, but I tell you what, we had some yoga instructors come in and do some workouts with us once, and they just kicked our ass. And all
I'm
my
sure.
guys, we're all football, lacrosse players, former athletes like that. And, we do stretch and we were flexible to a degree, but we're nowhere near yoga flexible.
Yeah.
And some of the positions they were asking us to put ourselves into made us realize that we have some serious mobility, flexibility issues that could be better. Not that I'm ever going to be a yoga master, right? But I find weaknesses, when I do other events and other things that, I say, maybe I need to practice it, maybe practice a little more stretching and mobility work, so my hips don't hurt when I, sit in a certain position.
Yeah, Stu, if you were going to go through you gave us one really good warm up that works, I think, for a lot of the people that are going to be watching and listening to this, which is the run across the basketball court or equivalent distance, a burpee, and then do one side of a pyramid up to 10. So one of the things that I've heard you tell me before is one of the good things in a warm-up is to try to get to the point where you have moved all of your key body parts in full range of motion. And when you're doing leg kicks or you're doing the side steps, for example, or you're doing, the stretches, the light stretches that you do at the end of the dynamic warm-up, you're moving all of your key body parts at their full range of motion. And could you just take a second and go through how you do that? I mean, in your workouts and your dynamic stretching, you start at the middle of the body, work all the way down, and then at the end you do the stretching. So take us through the construction of that.
Yeah. Usually at the beginning of my books, there is a stretching section, and in some of my earlier books, it was all, it would say warm up, then do these static stretches.
Yes.
Right? As I think time has evolved and warm-ups have evolved a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. I love to get warmed up and then stretch afterwards, do static stretching afterwards. People say there's no place for static stretching, and I think they're wrong. There's great benefits you get out of static stretching, right? You can do it too much too, just like with anything. But I will say that I like to get my legs moving and my lower back moving first.
Yep.
Just the bigger muscle groups.
Yep.
And I think the goal of any warm up is just to right before you start to break a sweat.
Okay.
Go to that point where you're just starting, you feel warmed up enough to where your body wants to start sweating that first bead of sweat off your forehead. Right. I think that's a good goal. Now you can go past that and be sweating buckets too, but at the same time, I think any less than that, you might not be warmed up enough, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the way I do it is, there's so many ways to do it. I'm going to give you a way, not the way, right? I like to say that all the time. It's like, this is a way to do it, not the way, because there's countless ways to warm up. I typically do a slight run, quick 5-minute run or bike first, right? Just kind of get the blood flowing. Then hop off, do the Buttkicker exercise where just bringing my heels up to my butt, with my knees, down, and then I bring them, do the same thing with my knees up. So I'll do some high knee lifts, kind of works the hips and the thighs, hamstrings as well. And then I turn it into a kick. They call it Frankenstein Steps, when you're just kicking out in front of you, touching your hands. And then you do it to the side, side steps. You do karaoke, crossovers, right? Those old school ones. And then, leg swings forward and back, so you're actually, hitting your leg forward, back.
And then you swing them side to side. Yeah.
I love doing these in the water too. Everything that I just said, you can do in chest deep water for even more benefit. That resistance in the pool is incredible.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea.
I love it. You wait till you do it when your pool opens up. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm going to have to tell everybody about the time when my son Ken, who you know well, 11 years old, standing there, and it's 6 a.m, and he's looking out the kitchen window, and he turns to me, he says, "Dad, Stu's out there taking a bath with a hose." You remember that, bud?
Yeah, morning swim. I jump in the pool. It's freezing. Jump in the pool. I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to just bring some shampoo out there. And I didn't want to use your pool water to shampoo my hair. So I get out of the pool and shampooed it while I was out there. I was like, we were in a rush. Had to get out of there.
We were. It was mid-September in Connecticut. It was a little chilly.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a little chilly. But then you move on to
warm-up.
That was warming up, man. No doubt about it. That was a clear warm-up. Then you move into rolling your calves, right? I forgot what you call it, but you roll your calves up and back, right?
Yeah, with the foam roller?
No, when you're doing you go up on your toes and then you go out in your heels, toe and heel rolling on the.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, yeah, that's a classic. A lot of people get shin splint problems, especially before they run, calves cramping, those type of things. So, I have big calves than the average person, so I have to really stretch those things. And so that's why if I'm going running, I will run for 5 minutes, and I will make sure that I stretch my calves, do a little loosening of the shins, and that's basically just the opposite of a calf stretch. You just point your toe or you flex your foot to stretch your heels and your shins. Get some blood flowing in there. In fact, we do this one thing just called, heel pumps, where you lift your foot off the ground and your flex point, flex point, flex point, flex point, and it just gets some blood down in your shins and your calves. You do like 50 of those on each leg before you run. Makes a big difference, especially if you're having problems with shin splints. But that's a real good point, because people have problems with shin splints all the time. And, those little heel pumps that you can go up and down with, or take them off the ground and just point and flex to, get the blood flow down there, will help you. It's not going to cure shin splints, but it will definitely ease them.
Yeah, Stu, for people that are doing a lot of swimming, especially swimming with fins, you and I know you end up with calf cramps a lot of times. And
just ankle pain in general.
Yeah.
That's pure mobility of the ankle.
Okay.
Right. And if you look at guys that swim with fins a lot, they will have a toe point that rivals a ballerina.
Huh.
Yeah. A ballet dancer. Like my daughter has taken ballet for 15 years. And, whenever she does her point, I'm like, hey, check out mine. And she's like, dang. So, I've just been swimming a lot with fins on, and it hyper flexes, the front part of your shin or the bottom of your foot and the top of your foot and bottom of your leg. And it just allows those tendons and ligaments to loosen up a little bit so you can have a solid point. But that's with any joint. Any joint you work like that can have that kind of mobility. So whether it's your lower back, it's a shoulder, it's your knee, hip, all of those joints can have that kind of range of motion if you, stretch them.
And Stu, once you move from your heel and toe rolling on the ground in your warm up, you then move into lightweight stretching of your upper body. Right, you move into a little bit of arm stretch, a little bit of toe touch, that sort of thing, because you've warmed your body up a little bit, and then you move into those fundamental stretches. And when people do that, Stu, what are some of those fundamental light stretches that you like to do?
Well, I think calisthenics are great at helping you warm up. I'm a big fan of taking the shoulder in as many directions as you can. I mean, if you think about it, it's multi-planar. You can do dips, pushing straight down. You can do push-ups out in front, and you can do pull-ups or military press over your head. So, and then you can go out to the side with the lightweight shoulder workout as well. So, and by the way, all of these are on my YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/Stu50Smith, you will see tons of different warm-ups. You'll see the lightweight shoulder workout. A lot of the dynamic stretches that we were talking about are also on there in quick little 10-second videos. And if you can't find them, just do a Google search and cite dynamic stretching routine. And there are thousands out there, and there's a great way to learn some neat ones, as well as pick up some exercises that you might have forgotten that you used to do before, baseball practice or whatever.
One thing that you have, and I think it's actually in your static stretching routine, and we'll go through static stretching in a more detailed podcast later, but you stretch the wrist. You pull the wrist back. And I have to tell you, that is one of the few things that before I started doing that, I didn't realize how stiff my wrist was.
Yeah, wrist can get really stiff, especially if you're doing a lot of push-ups. But what it really is stretching is it's stretching your forearms.
Forearm, yeah.
Right. So when you do this, let me see.
Yep, that's it.
It's hard to get
this
like this. So
I think people get it.
Going backwards here. You do this, right? Yeah. You're stretching your forearms, and you'll see a lot of guys when we're doing multiple sets of pull-ups, it's not so much their grip that they're worried about. It's their forearms that will start to affect their grip eventually, because your grip is all your muscles in your hand are right here in your forearm.
Yeah.
They're just, that's why when you get cut in your hand, you're likely to tear a tendon or a ligament, because all your muscles for the hand, I mean, there's some muscles in the hand, but all of them that generate movement and grip are right here in your forearm. So yeah, you got to stretch your forearm to help with your grip. And in fact, we need to do a grip, just nothing but grip.
Oh yeah.
My podcast, because I have a great little system for building grip too. But
what? People can look for it. People can look for it because it's going to be called Operator Grip, because you wrote an article about that. So look for that podcast at some point soon. So Stu, if you were going to summarize then, what do you recommend people do on the subject of warming up? Give us just a 15-second version of what do you recommend for people to do when they're looking at this issue of warming up for themselves?
Warming up. Get the blood flowing, break a sweat, and find something that works for you. You got to find something that resonates with you, because it's the first part of your workout. You don't want the first part of your workout to be dull and boring. Change it up a little bit, but find those staples, that exercises that work for you. Now, I don't think I'm going to be doing burpees forever, like you said, for a warm-up, but for right now, they work really well. Eventually it may have to be, on the elliptical and do some yoga stretching or something like that to actually loosen up your lower back after a night's sleep. But regardless, find what works for you. Make sure that, you're moving all your joints, you're breaking a little sweat, getting the heart rate up a little higher, and then go attack that workout.
All right, buddy. That's all the time for today. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.
All right, this is Stu Smith, and one little reminder, check out my YouTube channel. These videos will be on there as well. It's probably where you're watching this on, but check out some of the other videos on it. There's over a couple hundred of me teaching swimming, all the exercises, more than 120 different exercises that we do in the books and ebooks are in there, as well as the dynamic stretches that we discussed today. So check out the YouTube channel, and
and Stu, SoundCloud, iTunes. This stuff is all now in a podcast called the Stu Smith Fitness Report, right?
The Tactical Fitness Report with Stu Smith. You've almost got it.
Straight. The Tactical Fitness Report with Stu Smith. All right, man.
All right.
Hang in there, bud.
This is Stu Smith. See you later.